this past summer. So Marlene, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for being with us.
Good thing this thing is flexible, because I'm not that tall. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm very glad to be here. And unfortunately, Brandon is not able to be here because he had to cover for another teacher. But he had a great time with this group this past summer. And we went to Honduras. We went to a little tiny beanie island in the Caribbean. And you have to zoom in really big time to find it on the map. And we had a very small group, and we only had one boy. That was different from other trips. He survived amongst all the girls, so that was a good time. Good job. We tried to take care of him too. So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about what we did in Honduras, and more specifically about some of the kids and how we saw the Lord work in the lives of those kids. And so I think we're going to start. Oh yeah, no. Before I turn it over to them, I just wanted to say that it was funny the first day. A lot of them acted like they didn't know each other. We're at the airport during our layover time in Houston, and we have a picture that just speaks for itself. Everyone was sitting on a row in their own world, eating or on their phones, or I was on a computer. And it's just funny when you contrast that picture with one of our very last pictures, the last day of our trip. Everyone is we had the opportunity to have a fun day, and just the Lord really blessed that day with special people that we met there, and we got to go to a really nice place and just have fun for the rest of the afternoon that day. And it's just to be able to see how everyone started that first day at the airport and how everyone ended just having fun together, playing at the beach. So that was amazing. That's something that only God can do. I know for sure that Brandon and I had nothing to do with that. And it was just in a week long. It's amazing how God can bring people together. And I know Brandon wanted to share that because he thought it was amazing. We just kept looking at them and watching them interact with the kids and just seeing how the Lord works in every person in different ways and makes them and helps them grow. And so we really enjoy being a part of that. And so that was 2 cents from Brandon that I know he wanted to share. And so I'm going to turn it over to Cheese. My husband, Brandon, kept calling him Nathan. His name is Ethan. Brandon kept calling him Nathan and changing his name for some reason. And all the kids call him Cheese. So, Cheese, come up here. Oh, no, he's not coming up here. He's talking from there.
Is it on? We good? All right, so I'm just gonna, I'm Cheese, the beginning of that story. There's 2 little boys, one was named Leander, one was Isaac, and they're all saying my name wrong. It came out East or E. So one of the little boys got mad. I said, "Are you calling him Cheese?" He said, "No." He said, "Do you eat him?" "No." So I said, I kind of like that. Just call me Cheese. So the whole rest of the trip, all the kids called me Cheese. Then by the end, I had everybody else calling me Cheese too, and Miss Deborah, and the teachers, and the locals. And now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the transportation, how we got places. Down in Honduras, there is no speed limits at all. There's just speed bumps periodically through the road. So we all sat in the back of the pickup truck, and Brandon he felt the need to go faster over the speed bump, so he'd almost fly out of the truck going down the road. And so now I think I'm turning the mic over to Ellie for a little short story.
All
All right, so something I took away from the trip was to never take anything for granted, and I know you hear that a lot in mission chapels, but I think that's something that you never truly understand until you go on a mission trip. So in Honduras, it's really, really hot, and one of the days it was literally 119 degrees, and we didn't even realize it was that hot until Miss Deborah was like, so it's the hottest day of the year. It was 119 degrees. And it was just so cool to see how the kids go all day in school with no air conditioning, and they do all their work for 8 hours a day with no air conditioning and 119 degrees, and they were just so joyful. So it was just really cool to see that. So now I'm going to give it to Grace.
I'm just going to tell a little funny story, which I didn't really find it funny at the time. But after school, we do VBS, and VBS was done, so we are going to go to the field by Deborah's house to play with the kids. And me and Catherine were waiting on Kiska, which she graduated last year, so she's not here. And the kids in the team left, and Ethan turned out the lights, and I said, hey, there's people in here, you know. But I didn't really think anything of it, and Kiska got done, and we were going to go out the door, and I saw that it was shut. I was like, how am I going to pull this open? Because there's no handle on the inside. I was like, the door is locked. So, and there were bars over the windows. There's no way we could get out. So we yelled for 5 minutes before some of the kids came from upstairs to let us down and let us out. And we finally got to the field, and everyone's like, where were you? I'm like, yeah, we got locked in the basement by Ethan. So, and now Catherine is going to talk.
Okay, so since mine's longer, I'm going to come up here. Okay, so Honduras was amazing, and we all learned so much. And we got to see the Lord work in so many ways. But let me first introduce to you the missionary who works there. Deborah Honeycutt is from Bethany, Oklahoma. She has a daughter, Sarah, and a son, Daniel. She was called to Honduras and accepted the call. She has served there for 7 years. When she first got to Honduras, after accepting the call, she was looking to see where God would have her work. She began to gather kids and young adults and teach them English. Someone finally mentioned to her that she should start school teaching students English, and she did. She now teaches a year-round school in a private neighborhood, and there are about 40 kids in the high school, which is 1st through 6th grade, and 12 of the younger kids, or what we would call pre-K through kindergarten. They're all being taught English, reading, math, science, and Spanish from a biblical point of view. In the evening, she teaches 2 different English classes on different days. The first one is young adults and parents, and the second group is about 3 or 4 policemen. Deborah has made a huge impact on the people who live there, and she uses her English classes to share the gospel. She's seen so many come to know the Lord, and the numbers continue to grow. While we were there, one of her friends got baptized, but we didn't get to go to the baptism because they wait and do all the baptisms in one day. And then last year in 2016 and this year in 2017 have been very similar, but I've been blessed to go on both and hope to be able to go back soon. The main thing that stood out from both trips is seeing the kids that I got to know the first trip and seeing them again and being able to pick up where I left off. There were several of them that asked me if I had been there before, which is amazing because there are so many mission teams that come through to help. I was honored that they recognized me. The mission trip is very kids-focused. We spend every day of the weekdays in the school helping the kids with their work. They were all in the same room except for the little kids who are in the basement. Even though they're all in different grade levels, never mind. They use donated workbooks from the United States, and every Monday they are given a gold card that they have to complete by the end of the week. And so while we are there, we have to help them with their work and kind of just tutor them and then check their work once they are done. Even though they are given the goal or the answer sheets so that they can check them themselves using and then using self-control to not just copy down the answers. Last year we were given each 3 kids, and this year I was given 5. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. The last day of the trip is our fun day, and we get to go to the beach on Saturday and swim and play in the lake. But this year, when we got there on Sunday and really didn't have anything to do, so we went grocery shopping to get milk and eggs, and then we got to go to a beach where we were playing in the ocean. We were playing catch, and one of the team's favorite stories is when Kiska had her arms up to catch the ball, and it went right in between her hands and hit her on top of the head. And Brandon said, "Now the trip has really started." I really enjoyed getting to know the kids better and hope to continue to build a relationship with them. I hope I get to go back soon to continue the relationships with the kids that have grown so close to my heart. And now we have Bella.
I think we've got some, I think we have some pictures for you guys up here. Where are the pictures? Oh, there they are. Isn't that adorable? Okay, so I'm Bella, and I went to Honduras this year, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the kids that went on this trip. Can we go back one picture? Oh, do I have the clicker? There it is. Okay, so these first couple of kids, during the week, it was really cool on this trip because we each had like our own set of 4 or 5 kids that we worked with, and we just worked with those 4 or 5 kids all week on their schoolwork, because at their school they have like 60 kids and 2 teachers for all of their subjects. So it's really helpful that we go, and a lot of these kids need individual attention because the education in Honduras isn't, especially in Roatan on the island, it isn't amazing. So up here, the little girl on the left that's Sasha. Sasha was the first kid that we met, and so we're all standing around this first day, and we're in there, and she comes up, and she just wraps her arms around all of us and goes through and hugs us all and starts talking to us in Spanish, and she has very little English, so she needs lots of extra help, and it was really good that we came for her because it made her so happy to get that kind of attention from somebody and for somebody to just love on her. And it really helped her because it's really hard on the island if you don't speak both languages. Because on the island, they all speak Spanish and English, but the kids have a really big disadvantage if they only speak Spanish because of all the tourists who come in. That's how they get most of their jobs. So if you can't talk to the tourists, it's really hard to get a job there. So Sasha was just a little ball of light, and it was really great for her that we were there, and she always wrote us little notes and was hugging on us, and she was so happy even though that she had next to nothing. Her clothes were always tattered, and her bag was ripped open, and she was always eating weird things for lunch because that's what she had for lunch. I don't know. And then this little kid that Sasha's kind of rubbing his head, that's George. Oh, he was adorable, guys. He was downstairs at Ethan, so I really didn't get to spend much time with him. And then over here on the right, that's Honor, and Honor didn't really talk much. He was one of those kids that you really needed to give one-on-one attention to really get something out of him. But throughout the week, you could really see a progression of how he opened up more and he really got better in his schoolwork. There it is. Okay, guys, this is Kenny. Kenny was my best friend on the trip. It makes me sad to talk about him because I miss him so much. But Kenny had a really hard past, like a lot of these kids did. When Kenny was 10 years old, his father was murdered over in Honduras, and so his mom had to go sort some things out over there on the mainland. So he had to stay home with a friend for a couple of months with one of his mother's friends, and nobody knew this, but when his mom come to find out, this friend was beating him and making him sleep outside, which is really dangerous, especially in Honduras, and they were really just abusing him, and his mother had no idea until he got back. And his mother, when she finally does come back for good, she's pregnant, and so his mother comes back and has to worry about this new baby, and she doesn't know what to do, so she has to move into this neighborhood that's not very good. And so Miss Deborah said she was noticing that Kenny was coming to school, and he wasn't the normal, curious, happy kid he was. His clothes were always tattered and torn, and he would wear the same clothes they have a uniform, but he would wear the same uniform without washing it for weeks at a time. and he was sleeping at his desk, which really, if you guys ever go to Honduras and meet Kenny, you would know that that's not who he is. He's such a curious, happy kid. But he was being recruited by a gang and smoking as an 11-year-old doing this. So one of the kids told Miss Deborah this, and she talked to his mom, and his mom had no idea. She was so occupied with the new baby that she had no idea what kind of trouble was happening, and that some other kids were doing some things to him, trying to recruit him for a gang. So finally, Miss Deborah kind of started working with him after school, and his mother moved to a different neighborhood, and he was having to walk 2 miles to school every day, and a lot of the kids have to do that, but Miss Deborah got a bus for them, or a little van that could transport them to school in the mornings and take them home at night, at the end of the day. And so that really, finally, when I went and I was talking to Miss Deborah about this, she said that he's just now starting to get back to himself. And Kenny, the best part about Kenny was he asks so many questions, like crazy questions. Like every time he asked a question, he would be like, "Hey, Miss Bella, can I ask you a question?" He asked if he could ask a question before every question, which was adorable. So he came and he was asking, "Hey, Miss Bella, can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Yeah, Kitty, you can ask me a question." And some things he asked me were, do they have baleadas in Oklahoma? Which baleadas are like some kind of burrito thing that they eat there, delicious. They're Kenny's favorite food. And he asked me how to build a rocket ship, which I felt really bad because I don't know how to answer that question. And he asked me what would happen if the earth got split in half, right down the middle, not just right down the middle. And that's exactly how he said it. And I didn't know how to answer that question, but I didn't know how hard it was to explain how gravity worked until Kenny asked me how gravity worked. So the last little girl that I want to talk about, this is Kibana. Now, Kibana taught me that prayer works. Like, it's really hard sometimes to believe in prayer when you see something that you need to pray for and you're not having answers, but with Kibana, God answered prayers that I was praying about her in a week. You could see such a difference. At the beginning of the week, Kibana, she didn't say one word to me the first day. The only reason I knew her name is because she had a name tag. And she didn't say anything to me, and she didn't get any of her work done. And by the end of the week, she got every single thing was done. She got all of her work done. She was completely caught up for the week, and I had no idea what was happening. But I talked to Miss Deborah in the middle of the week at team time one night, and I was talking to her, and I was like, we need to pray for her because I don't know what's happening. And Miss Deborah was like, oh, yes, Kibana's having a really hard time. Her mother is a prostitute, and she just lives with her mother, and what was I just going to say? Oh, and she didn't have power for the whole 2 weeks I was there. I mean, most of them don't really have running water and stuff, but it was really hard to access water, no power, no lights. So once it got dark outside, it got dark outside at like 6 o'clock, so she couldn't get any of her homework done after 6 o'clock. That's why she was so behind on school. So as praying for Kibana over the week, which we prayed in their cubicles every day, and I prayed for Kibana, it was crazy. She just changed. She was this little girl who didn't talk to me the first day, and the last day, she was attached to me at the hip, and I went down one day we went down to the store to go get something to eat. She came right along with me, and I got her ice cream, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to her. You could tell because she was just so happy about just something so little that I could do for her, as much to buy her ice cream, that it just made her day. So then the last thing let's see if I have another picture. Oh, well, that's Honduras. It's beautiful, as you can tell. And this is the part of Honduras that's maybe more clean than the other parts. There's a lot of like I told you, these stories of these kids. It's really common for things like that in Honduras. But it's such a beautiful place. So if you guys go there, it's really pretty. Okay, this is our team. So we know this is the randomest group anyone could have ever thought of. I mean, we have Ellie, and Ellie is the only one I had ever really talked to that much. Like, I was really friends with and I hung out with before this trip. And then Maddie, 2 weeks before school I got out, first thing she ever said to me, like ever, she goes, "Hey, are you going to Honduras?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Honduras." She goes, "Cool, we'll be friends." And just walked away. That was it. That's what I got from Maddie. And then Ethan, what a trooper. Ethan was the only guy on this trip. And he fixed the toilets at least once a day. And he fixed the water heater when the power went out and we didn't have water. And I actually went to bed one night and there was a lizard in my bed, which was that startled me. And Ethan came and took care of that lizard for me. So Ethan was a real trooper on this trip. And then we have Marlene. And then we have Catherine. And I cheered with Catherine before, but Catherine really helped us because she was the only one who had ever, even Marlene and Brandon, who had ever gone to Honduras before. And she really helped us out, telling us, okay, what was going to happen and preparing us for the trip. And then we had Kiska, who didn't, she graduated, and Kiska was she was really fun. She was, life at the party. Had so much fun with her on this trip. And then Grace, guys, you should talk to Grace sometime. Grace is really funny. Grace is really funny, guys. So, yeah, we've got a lot of good memories with Grace on this trip. And if you want to go talk to her about that, she can tell you some funny stories. So it was just crazy how God really brought us together on this trip, because we went from complete strangers to being best friends. And I really think that's because we opened up to each other on a more personal level. We totally skipped the, what's your favorite color? What hobbies do you have? We skipped that part of being friends. We went straight to knowing each other spiritually and having seeing these hard things happen together. And really what I've learned on this trip is you get to know a person not by their hobbies or favorite color, but by knowing them on a deeper level and really experience having hard questions and answered with them, which we did during team time. And this trip, it's crazy that, guys, if you go on a mission trip next year, you don't have to go for your friends. You don't have to see, okay, who's going on this trip. If you're feeling led to go somewhere, don't worry about who else is going, or if you have any friends on the trip, because it'll come together. Somehow God will bond you guys, and that's it. Now we have Maddie coming up here to...
So I also went to Honduras last summer, obviously, and it was my third mission trip with CHA, and every mission trip is completely different, and Honduras was unlike anything I've ever experienced. The country is absolutely beautiful. The people there and the kids especially are just incredible, and I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to go. Last year, the reason that I even signed up for Honduras in the first place was because Gage Bullard had told me all about it and how amazing it was, and so I wanted to experience it for myself, and we had both kind of decided that we wanted to go, and so we both signed up, and I wasn't really close with anyone else who signed up, but I was like, it's fine, I'll have Gage, and it'll be fine. And then he ended up not being able to go, and so when I found out he couldn't go, I immediately was like, okay, I need to sign up for another trip. And my first choice was Costa Rica because I had a lot of friends going on that trip. And so I had decided that I was going to change to that instead, and I was going to go talk to Mr. Holmes. But the day that I was going to talk to Mr. Holmes, I just was thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I knew that it was God's plan for me to go to Honduras. And he didn't give me some Bible verse that convicted me. I didn't hear his voice whispering in my ear. I just knew in my heart, which was the Holy Spirit convicting me, that I was supposed to go to Honduras. And honestly, I just wanted to ignore that, and I didn't really get excited before the trip. Before my other two trips, I was so excited and counting down the days, and it wasn't like that this time, which was my fault. I should have prepared myself mentally and spiritually, and I regret that. I didn't do that, but I don't regret going to Honduras at all. It really was a life-changing experience. I don't throw those words around lightly, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I made new friends on the trip, both on my team and back in Honduras. The kids there are just amazing and taught me so much about joy, and I could just talk about them all day. But what I am going to talk about is the biggest thing that we learned as a team, which was the power of prayer, like Bella talked about. And the first day at the school was chaos. The kids were loud the whole day. It was hard to get them to do their work, and they weren't respectful to us at all. And at the end of the day, we were just like, how are we going to do this the rest of the week? But each morning before school, Deborah wanted us to get to school early, and each of us choose a kid to pray for that day. And so we did that starting the second morning, and I just wish that you could have seen, I just wish you could have seen it, because there's no way that I could describe it, just how amazing it was, the change in the kids that day. They were much quieter, they did their work, they respected us, and it was like they were completely new kids. Like Bella talked about with Kivana, like, she was so quiet the first day, and by the end of the week, like, she was a completely different girl. And that was just all thanks to the power of prayer and God. And so that was just like a theme for our trip, was how prayer really does work. And it can be hard to remember that sometimes because we don't always feel like God's listening, but it says in 1 John 5:14 and 15, "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we've asked of him." And that's just another assurance that we have, that he hears us and we're not just talking to nobody. And we all learned that in Honduras. So I hope that we have done somewhat of an adequate job of describing this trip to you and the impact that it had on us. And I hope that it encourages at least a few of you to go. There are a few people on this team who I remember talked about how the chapel last year was what made them want to come to Honduras. And even if it's not Honduras, wherever God calls you, I really encourage you to go. Mission trips are one of my favorite things about CHA. They have all shaped me to be the person that I am today, and I fully mean that. And the three biggest things about mission trips are the missionaries there, the local people, and the relationships you make. The missionaries that you meet on each trip will be some of the most amazing people you've ever met, I promise. Just like seeing how they have responded to God's voice and followed his will for their life, and how he's blessed them for that, is just so encouraging to see. And then the local people that you meet on trips, most of the time you go because you want to help them, but it's always them who changes you and helps you way more than you could ever help them. And then the relationships made on mission trips are not like any relationships you make anywhere else, because like God is teaching you all so much at the same time, and it's normal to talk about that stuff on mission trips, and it just creates such deep relationships. And mission trips aren't about going with your best friends. That shouldn't be the reason that you go on a trip. You should listen to God's voice and make new friends on a trip and create deep relationships with them, which is what we did on this trip. So go on a mission trip this summer. It'll be amazing. Thank you for your attention. And now...
Well, thank you, young people. It's easy to see that the Lord changed lives because these young people obeyed him and went to Honduras this past year. And thank you, Marlene, and to you and Brandon for going with them. I think, Curry went with the Mexico team. And Marlene and Brandon, I know years ago as they started going on mission trips through CHA, and how God, especially, I remember God changing Brandon's heart, and he just gave him a passion for that, and he gave his heart to that, and then led Marlene into his life, and now they're a couple that loves and serves the Lord. And so one of the blessings that you young people got to experience was being with them, and I know you were encouraged by them. What would the Lord have you to do? That's one question I think we need to consider, because Bella and Maddie both said, it's not about where your friends are going, it's where does the Lord want you to go. And so as you consider what the Lord would have you do this next summer, think about that, and then you be obedient to what the Lord has for you. And as you do that, then you will be blessed. Let's stand together. We'll have a word of prayer, and then after that we'll be dismissed to our third hour class. On Thursday is the next time that we will meet, And I believe the Costa Rica team is going to be sharing with us on that day. So we'll look forward to hearing from them on Thursday. That'll be our next time we meet together. Father, we thank you for your love for us. Thank you for the opportunity to go and to share your love with other people. Lord, thank you for the children who were affected by the relationships that these young people, as they poured their lives into them, Father, they will never forget that. Thank you for the love and for the gospel that we can share with others, life-changing, Father, as a result of what you've done and the love you've shown us in our lives. Father, may we be obedient to you today. Bless our classes and bless each student, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. You are dismissed.